Great. So, welcome everybody. Thank you for being with us in our monthly lecture. And I will be talking today about detachments. So, detachments, a path to self improvement. So, it's this picture here helps us already to understand what is a detachment. Detachment is something that many times we put some type of attachment so strong to that we think I need this to be happy. But there are so many intangibles to it. So I'm going to go little by little talking about different ways of detachment, job, and we can start dissecting it. So I'm going to tell you a story. I love to tell stories, as you all know. If you are here with me, you know that I'm always with a lot of stories. And this story is very touching. So this is a story of this incredible man. He was incredible, but he was so attached to anger that his whole life was involved in this feeling, which is not good. And we know anger is not a good feeling. So he was a man averted from society. He only enjoyed the moon and the stars. One night, during a lonely walk, a woman bumped into him. Furious, he asked her if she hadn't seen him. So imagine, he's so angry. Sometimes we act like this. Sometimes we act very automatic. Someone is stepped on our foot and we are just like, what are you doing? Especially in New York City with the crowded subways. In Miami, it's more like when someone closes, the car and you almost hit and you're already exploding in anger. So we see this. We have to reflect on ourselves too, because we are very good to point at the others. But many times we do acts of anger without even thinking. So this is what he did. And then she answered, I'm sorry, sir. I couldn't see you. I'm blind. I'm blind. That's why I couldn't see you. And then, ashamed for his rudeness, he decided to show her how beautiful is the moonlight. So he didn't like people. He didn't like to live in the society. He didn't interact with a lot of people, but he enjoyed the moonlight. He enjoyed walking alone on the streets of his city, especially when it had the beautiful moonlight. And this man was Ludwig van Beethoven. So he invited her to his home, his little home. And then, amazingly, she accepted. And he tells her, I want to apologize. What I did was really nasty and negative. And then, while playing this music, hopefully, of course, it didn't. Let me put it here. Hopefully, you can at least hear. Hi, friends online, just let me know if you can hear it. I think they can. So, while he was showing her this music, he started talking, he started describing beauty of the moonlight. And he started telling her that the only way for him not to be anger, nasty, and thinking just about problems, he used to admire the moonlight and think about all his difficulties, the resentments, all the hatred he received, the passions in his life. And when he saw the moonlight, he was able to forget about it, become a better person. And then in that place that she couldn't see, he started playing his music and he started describing what was the what are the feelings that brought. So it's very romantic for us to think. But you can imagine someone that is blind, never saw a light, understand that light was the soothing feeling that made you feel better, that made you to become a better person. So this is something that is very good. It's very good to all of us. When we have anger feelings, we should do a meditation. We should listen to his music. It calms us, brings us to the better of ourselves, because we all have good within us. And then, after this good story, we go back to Uncle Scrooge McDuck. So, when I was a child, this cartoon was really part of my life. I loved Pato Donald's, the Donald Duck. So his uncle, this billionaire from nowadays, so he used to say, "Oh boy, money! I love to dive around it like porpoise." So he lived for money. And I remember the cartoon, the coins were gold, were yellow gold. And I used to imagine, my goodness, imagine someone could have so much money to be in this situation. And we know, yes, there are a lot of people that have this situation, but the majority of the population, of course, is not like that. And we have to understand that the money is not something bad. We always connect the money to something negative, but money can be something good. Money is what brings progress to the world. But what is our relationship with money? That's the problem. Let's have some candies here, because nobody's going to sleep today. I'm paying attention to all of you. Don't allow the spirits to put you to sleep. What is the candy, River? You forgot to bring it?
Uh-huh.
That's a problem. That's a problem. So I will be on top of you. So what is our connection with money? River, what is your connection with money?
None.
None. None.
I have connection with the bed.
I can see he has a connection with the bed. The bed to sleep, not the bed of bed. But we do need to have a connection with money. When we have money, we are able to do amazing things, and we can even help others. And there are a lot of millionaires, billionaires. They actually have a lot of organizations that help people in difficult situations. The problem is when we think the money is the most important things in our lives. That's the problem. Like when we think money is more important than family, than friendship, than even your own work. Because if you work just because of the money, that's already a problem. And that's when many times we don't feel good. We feel upset because you are doing something just to get the payment. Yes, I understand that sometimes we do need that job to survive. But we should try to find something in that job that might be temporary, because you can change, that makes you happy. What in your job makes you happy? There has to be something. You must be good in something that the people appreciate it. So what is attachment? So the dictionary says, the summary says, need of unilateral possession, the ones that are mine or my. This is mine. So there are many, many things that we say, oh, this is mine. This is what we see in the gospel, according to Spiritism, the detachment of earthly possessions. So here are just a few things that I put that we are usually attached, but there are hundreds and hundreds of others. So we are attached to relationships, to people, material things, situation, places, periods of time. And these are all good, but how much are we attached to it? When it's too much, attached to people, relationships become jealousy, becomes that sickness that you think that person is mine. The person cannot talk to someone, cannot go out with someone. It's like it becomes a sickness. The same thing with material things. You know, Uncle Scrooge there, attached to all his coins. So he became stingy. He could never help his nephew and the little kids that were always in financial problems, financial trouble. Situations when you get connected to something that happened that makes you sad. Oh, in 1987, I could have taken a better decision, and because of that, I could never evolve. This can bring you to a depression. If something already happened, it passed. We need to live through the future. As Chico Xavier said, you cannot change the past. Chico Xavier is a Brazilian medium, very, very famous. So Chico says, you cannot change the past, but you can work to change the future, making a better future. And then places, you know, when I lived in Brazil, I was happier. Now I'm here, so unhappy. We need to see beauty wherever we are. Today I was talking to my friends in the UK, and they're all complaining that it's raining again, blah, blah, blah. And they were saying, oh, Angela, I wanted so much to go to Miami, this paradise. And I was telling them, well, every single place has problems. Here in Miami, people complain all the time of the hot weather. We complain so much about everything. In New York, oh, it's freezing. So wherever we go, there is a problem, but there is beauty. And I was talking to my husband, oh my goodness, since I moved to Miami, I never did so many outdoor activities. In New York, to go out kayaking was once a year when we were able to find a place that were renting kayaks, because nobody owns kayaks in New York. So beauty everywhere. Or a period of time, like sometimes sad things happens. You got a divorce from someone you loved. A family member died. What is making you sad? We have to understand that the sadness will happen, but you have to move on. Because if you're stuck in that moment, you are not going to evolve. You are not going to forget about all these problems and not find the detachment or the happiness that we need. So now we're going to talk about the law of preservation. So it is in the Spirit's book that we study here. So the question 712, why has God attached an attraction to the enjoyment of material things? Huge answer. The summary is to excite man to the accomplishment of his mission and try him by temptation. So if we didn't feel pleasure on something, we wouldn't be able to complete it. We wouldn't be looking for it. We wouldn't try to do certain things. So we need to have that pleasure to be able to do it. It's almost like sex. Sex. If it wasn't pleasant, we wouldn't have a population on earth. So God is very wise when he does it in everything. Food. If we didn't like food, we could starve. But abusing it, that's the problem. When we do too much, that's the problem. 713, has nature marked out the proper limits of corporeal satisfactions? Yes, limits that coincide with your needs and well-being. Again, sugar. Sugar is really good. Too much sugar, diabetics. Salt is really good. Too much salt, high blood pressure, and everything in life. So we need to understand limits. And as we always say in Spiritism, balance. Everything is balanced. So here, these ladies are unbalanced. Let's hope they are buying gifts in Christmas time for a lot of kids. Let's hope. But especially in America, sometimes one child get all those gifts, all those gifts. In my childhood, I only got 2 gifts a year. One in my birthday and another one in Christmas time. That's it. When I got 2 or 3 gifts, was like, oh my God. And my whole life, I dreamed to receive a bicycle as a gift. I never got it. But what happened? Did I die because of it? No, it's okay. I was using bicycles of friends of mine, and I even learned how to bike in their bikes. But nowadays, there is this culture of excess, and the parents have to be careful. Love is not excess of things. Things don't bring love. Our care, our conversation, our interactions, this is what is really important. This is what is really meaningful. And the kids, they need to understand it. Because when they start like, oh, how many gifts I'm going to get? Oh, I want this, I want that. They make this huge list. I remember my son making a huge list of gifts. And with my son, the process was complicated because he believed in Santa Claus. So I told him, okay, so what happened is Jesus, he is the one who watches everything to see if you were good or bad. He gets your letter. He thinks what you deserve. He tells mommy, this has to be purchased. So mommy needs to have money to buy it. And then you write the letter to Santa Claus, and Santa Claus will deliver it. So it was a complicated process, but it worked. So all this administrative work worked. And he's always super happy. And it's funny, kids usually, they give so much value to little gifts. I remember my in-laws buying like the super expensive train track with mountains, all kinds of things. And then what he liked the box of another toy, because the box had so many compartments. And it was very funny that he opened the gift and he was in love with the box. And everybody's like, no, but look at the train. Let's put the batteries. Oh, but look at this box. You can open here. So kids are funny. And again, this here is what we have to understand. But say, my kids to be happy don't need all this. My love and conversation and obviously explaining, it helps. Many times when he received so many gifts from my in-laws, we had a conversation explaining that the other kids don't receive anything. They are very sad because their parents didn't have money. So Santa Claus delivered something very, very small. And many times he said, oh, no, so can you give this and give this and give this to the kids? Because it's okay. So you plant the seed, and that's what it's important. So the question 714, what is to be thought of the man who seeks artificial excess? Think of him as a poor wretch who is to be pitied rather than envied. So when we live to excess, that's what happened. The spirits feel pity of anyone like this. Nowadays, we have social media that everybody is so happy. Everybody is so beautiful. I have a friend that she doesn't post anything without a filter. So she always like, beautiful, always beautiful. And I'm like, gosh, it is hard because she's also searching for a boyfriend. The day he meets her in person, he's like, what happened? So it's better to show how you are, because when we finally meet in person, the reality is already there. When we fake it, it's a danger. It's a danger. So have you purchased the below items? Me, my body, my parents, my school, my Spiritist center. So we did not purchase a Spiritist center. even if the Spiritist Center is owned by a group of people, which is not our case, unfortunately, it is a group of people that take care of it. And it's a group of people that make it happen. So here we have River that many times cooks and helps us cleaning. So each one has a job. We are all important. John arrives early, organized the table. So we need help. It's a group collection. The school also. The parents, we didn't purchase the parents. The parents, they are chosen or they volunteer themselves in the spiritual realm. So when we are coming, we already know, according to our plan, who will be our parents, our siblings, the biggest of the items, the most important, them, we know the country we are going to be born, but everything else, we use what we use?
Free will.
Free will, thank God. Free will. Free will is one of the most sad sentences, words in Spiritism. So all of this you cannot purchase. But we always say, my God. I am one of those. Every time, my God, my God. My God became an expression nowadays that even atheist people say all the time. I used to work with a friend who was atheist. And every time something happened in the stock market, he was like, my God, today is bad. And I'm like, why you say, my God? You would say that you don't believe in God. Oh, it's a very fancy expression. So, and all this is temporarily borrowed. Even our own body, we borrow this body for this incarnation. But thank God, when we get older, it will be gone. And we will come back in a much, much better version of ourselves. Exactly like our, the American, oh my God, what is the name? He was not a president, but he wrote in his tomb that he would be coming back in a much better version of himself. I will remember his name and I will let you know. So Jesus taught us our Father, not my Father's prayer, our Father's prayer, teaching us how to share equality, forgiveness, and so many other things. So until nowadays, this prayer is really something that when we pray and we pay attention to the words, it's so fascinating and so humble and helps us so much. The thing is, like many times when we do prayers, we go like in automatic speed and we don't think about the words. But Jesus was already there helping us with our Father. This little book, it's a little book, and it's called Simplify Your Life. It's really good. It has a lot of great ideas, and this book helps us to feel empowered and remove the feeling of overwhelmed. Sometimes we have so many things that we get overwhelmed. I get so stressed when my house is a mess, when I have shoes there, bags here, whatever. And I know I need to organize. And I have ADHD, so many times I keep postponing for tomorrow. And the inside of me makes me so stressed. So when you have less things, you have less things to organize, and your life is actually easier. And here are examples of detachment. All these figures, extremely important. I had so many more. But here you can see Chico Xavier, the Brazilian medium. He was very, very sick, especially when he got a little older. He was almost blind of one eye and all kinds of other problems. But people used to ask him, oh, so how are you, Chico? When he was always say, oh, I'm good, I'm fine. And then people say, oh, but I heard you went to the hospital. Yes, my body is sick, but I'm good. That's how he saw. The Sister Dulce is like from Salvador in Brazil. And she had only 30% of her lung capacity, but she was a worker that she never stopped. And it is very funny because people in her biography, I read her biography, and people that talked about her said that they went to visit her And her room was extremely simple, and the bed was broken. So the leg of the bed had like some pieces of books and some things keeping the bed. And all the people that visit said, but Mother Dulcie, how come is that? Oh, I don't have money for bed. So, we need to help the poor. And then this person's, the visiting, always gave her a bed. And they said that in addition to donations, she received hundreds and hundreds of beds. And then they said, but Mother, is this some kind of technique? And she's like, yeah, they need a little push to help. And they feel, I'm sorry, and it's okay. I don't really need a new bed. It's fine. So every bed someone gave to her, she gave to somebody else. And all these other examples, they are so powerful, so important to all of us. Gandhi, it's also very interesting because this is a story here. So the King George V offered him actually anything he wanted, and sent him to the market, one of his with his assistants. And Gandhi was walking, and he's not interested in material things. So this assistant from the king was showing here watches, porcelain things that he could bring to his home, and he didn't really care about anything. But then he saw this red bird, and he was mesmerized. He's like, this is so beautiful. I had never seen anything similar to that. One of those very big birds of prey with the big tails. How do you say tail? Well, claws. Yes, I was going to say with big nails. No, with claws. And then the assistant said, okay, let's buy this, let's box it and send to Gandhi in India. And then he said, it deserves freedom, not cage. And this is like his thinking. He was detached of all this. He didn't need a bird to be happy. So this is us. What do you think makes you happy? But it really makes you happy. This is all for us to think, food for thought. And again, law of destruction. So we live in Miami. We are always exposed to floods. And when the hurricane season comes, everybody's really concerned. And we should be concerned. And in the Spirit's book, 7-8, is the destruction a law of nature? Kardec asked this question. Long explanation, but summarizing, it's only a transformation, the aim of which is the renewing and the improvement of living beings. Of course, when something like this happens, it's not that we are going to be thinking, oh, this is just a transformation. Especially if you live there, you will be in turmoil. You will be very, very stressed. Someone died. Did I lose my house? Do I still have a job? This is what happens to all of us. But we have to understand that nothing happens by a chance. So if you are in the middle of that, something you have to learn from it. And this is a painful lesson for sure. But we have to understand something has to happen. And we have to understand why we were there. So question 737, what is God's purpose in visiting mankind with destructive calamities? To make man advance faster. You judge from your personal point of view, but such upsettings are needed for your fast improvement. Instead of centuries, it may take a few years only. When catastrophes happen, you can see on TV that the whole planet gets together to help. The whole planet. There was a catastrophe that happened in the south of Brazil last year, I think. Floods in the south, hundreds and hundreds, thousands of people without homes, was a disaster. And then the whole planet got together to help. Even us here in Miami, our little help. I opened my house to receive donations, and I imagined I was going to receive a few boxes. And we actually received so much, so much, so much. It was almost like a container. So we had to be delivering in 2 days, and many of you helped me. João delivered that, got a friend with a truck. We were all packing. So we get together to help. And this is so beautiful. But yes, many times when life is good, when life is easy, everything is smooth, when we are super happy, you don't think about God. You're like, everything is good. You think about going to Disney, going to a party, go kayaking. But when a problem happens, a problem approaches, then you start thinking, maybe I should pray. Maybe I should go to the Spiritist Center. Maybe I should, what should I do? Because, my God, this is difficult. So this is what happened to us. When problems come, we start thinking. When everything is good, smooth, we don't think much about spirituality or charity or how to improve ourselves. We think about fun. So calamities come and we are awakened. Obviously, there are a lot of people that don't need this to help others. We are some part of this group. We are always helping. Whatever charity that we organize here, there is always a lot of volunteers that wants to come to feed the homeless, to clean the park, to cook, to whatever. And this is really, really beautiful. So the last one, 799. How can Spiritism contribute to progress? By destroying materialism, the future life being no longer veiled by doubt. Men will understand that their future happiness is based on their present actions. By destroying prejudices, it teaches men the large solidarity. Then one day unites them as brothers and sisters. So when things like this happen, imagine you don't have anyone from your family involved, but you decide to help. You go out of your comfort zone to help. And us here in Spiritism, we understand that the physical body will die in any way, in many different ways. Death is not beautiful, it's not pleasant, but we know we will live. We will continue living. The spirit is eternal. So here's a Tibetan monk, and there is a funny story. So he was accused of impregnating a woman, and then she left him with the child. And he, without complaining, he loved the child. He took care of the child. He went out of his way to be able to make that child happy and taking care of her. Years later, the real father appeared, and the family took the child back. And he accepted it, unaltered, whatever the destiny offered him. Of course, that you think, whoa, if you were the monk, what would you do? Would you accept being accused of impregnating a lady that you never even touched? Would be peaceful? With me, for sure it wouldn't. Because I would try out of my way to prove that I was not guilty of this. But then, if I couldn't, if I took care of this child, and now the family comes years later to take the child, now, no. So you can see how far I'm from this monk. But these are the majority of human beings, the majority. And thankfully, you know, a lot of people don't go into the extremes of physically fighting with people, killing people. And this is like the extremes and the horrible thing. So we should take this example to understand what is a detachment. So maybe one day we can be kind of similar to him. Then we come with Socrates, with know thyself. So Socrates who read the Gospel According to Spiritism, the introduction of the book, there is a lot of beautiful stories about Socrates, so you can understand more about him. But one of the many stories is that the Oracle of Delphi said to the whole population there, "You are the wisest man on Greece." And then Socrates said, "One thing I know, and that is that I know nothing." Very famous sentence. I know nothing. And then Socrates decided to investigate and discover who were the people that knew something, because there must have someone that knows more than him. And then, well, then he started going all over the place, trying to interview people, talking to people, and then he ended up discovering that nobody really knew much. They knew about their professions, the one that was like a lawyer, philosopher, whatever, engineer, cook, but the knowing in general as a philosopher that knows really a little bit of many things and know what is the importance of life, few people knew about that. But anyway, so he was accused of corrupting the youth and impiety to the state. Why corrupting the youth? Because he was a teacher, he was a philosopher, and he was teaching the young, usually rich people from the city. And they were all going to their homes with all these philosophical ideas. And this was a red light from the state. And he was also talking badly about the state, meaning the state has to provide more for the population. So was giving certain ideas that the government from the time didn't agree. So as a philosopher, there was this special law. He could choose his own punishment. And because he thought this was all a big joke, he said his punishment would be to donate a rooster to the temple. Who was going to buy this rooster was going to be his Plato. And then all these accusers, they thought it was really something horrible, that he was joking with them, and they sentenced him to death. And then he had to drink hemlock or cicuta. And then when his wife, Shantip, discovers it, she said, "That's such an unjust sentence." And then Socrates, very practical, said, "Of course. Would you like it to be a just one?" And then so many other things happened. And we have that in the end, he had many enemies, but he had many friends. So the guards were paid to open the doors, and he was instructed to run away that night. But then he answered, "Escape from this prison, not from myself. I cannot stop telling the truth." So in his understanding, if he ran away from Miami, Greece, and he went to another country, he would come back again to the same thing, because he would be again teaching young philosophers. He would be again talking about how the state should be better, and they would put him to death again. And this is like a very powerful. He was so sure of he was right, that if he has to die, he would die. And as you know, he died. So Raul Teixeira is another Brazilian medium, very famous, especially in Rio. I'm from Rio. So he is a physicist and a medium. And when he was a young professor in the college in Niterói, he was the head of protests and the rebellion. And that's a state college, and they were not well paid, and they were all together asking for better salaries and other things. And he was the head of the organization, making everybody to go on strike and so many other things. And then he's a spiritual guy that's called Camilo, in the middle of the crowd that he was talking to everybody. He sees Camilo coming in spirit, And he freezes because, usually our spiritual guides, they are much tougher than our mothers. So if you were afraid of your mother when you were a child, especially in Brazil, they had these little sandals and they used to look at you and the sandal used to hit you in the head, whatever. The spiritual guys are much tougher because they see you totally. They don't look at you and see you how you are right now. They see you as a eternal spirit. So they see the problems you had in previous lives and the mistakes you are doing in this life. So he said, why are you complaining? God gave you voice to use with different purpose. In your past life, you did not work. So this time you will, and for very little pay. So I'm not saying that the strikes are bad because, through history, that the strikes actually happened and helped a lot of workers. But in his case, he didn't give all the details of what he hadn't done. But in one of his lives, he was one of those lazy spirits that we were commenting here, I think, last week, that I didn't really want to do much. And in this reincarnation, he would be obligated to work and receive a very little pay. And when he heard that, he said that he didn't know what to do because everybody was inflated. Yes, let's do it, let's do it. And he was like, what am I going to do now? And he decided to say, I need to go to the bathroom. And he left. And then he didn't go back to all kinds of protests that were continued. Here we have Divaldo Franco. This is another famous Brazilian medium that is 98 years old and is still very lucid with all his memory. Whoever was able to listen to Divaldo Franco's lectures know that he's extremely funny, but he's extremely knowledgeable. And 98, and he still have this amazing memory, even if his body is very debilitated. And Raul Teixeira is the other medium that is also wonderful. And many years ago, that's another story, but he was coming to New York City to the UN to give a big speech, big lecture. And in that time, I was with my Spiritist Center. And the night before, my cousin from Rio calls me to tell the whole thing that had happened to him in a plane. And we had to go to the hospital. And since then, he had a stroke for hours in the plane. Nobody knew. It's basically a miracle that he didn't die. And nowadays he's able to talk, but not like before. But that's part of his plan. So he has to be here to continue talking and spreading the good works. So now consequences of our actions. So you were hurt. You choose not to forgive. You feel guilty. You are hurting someone else, and you rationalize that you're right on hurting somebody else. Later on, you will feel guilty. You are not helping someone. Later on, you feel remorse and guilty. So all these actions that we do, and when we are doing or not doing, we think we're right. You think like, oh no, this person hurt me and deserves me to be angry with her or him, whatever. But later on, doesn't matter when. Some people take weeks, some people take months, some people take years, some people take lives that they cannot forgive someone. And the spirits, they try everything to help us to forgive. And that the spirits always say that the easiest way, when they try everything and nothing is working, then they try to send these spirits as mother and son or mother and daughter so they can forgive each other. But as we know, even like this sometimes doesn't work. Unfortunately, a lot of times we see in the news kids that kill parents, parents that kill kids. Sometimes it's because of mental illness, like mothers killing babies. But we don't know. Sometimes we know that the spirits try the best, but it didn't work. So we need to, when we have a spiritual understanding of this, then we try to make a stronger effort to be a better person, to forgive, to not to be so horrible when something happens to us. When we start thinking, maybe if I was in that situation, I would have done the same, then it's easier for us to forgive somebody else. And look at here, Miami. Look at this paradise. We're in Miami, this beautiful sun. Yes, to all of you that will be listening from other places, imagine a beautiful landscape. Don't need to be on the beach. You know, you can have a mountain, whatever you feel comfortable, even sometimes in your room, doing a meditation, listening to a soothing music. But then, how can we detach from so many things? Detaching from physical things or spiritual ones. So try to live with less things. Try to focus on what really matters in the life. Try to, commit less mistakes. I know it's easy said than done, but when we have the mediumistic meeting, for example, the spirits come to say what happened to them and how much they are in pain, or sometimes that they are very upset and they cannot see the light because they still didn't forgive. So these are examples for us to understand we have to change and we have to improve what we will do. So we have to try to avoid mistakes. Don't judge others because it's easy, but to try to put yourself in the shoes of that person. Practice charity. Every day we can practice charity. And it doesn't need to be a physical thing, it doesn't need to be money. It can be that co-worker that's not friendly, that passes by you and looks to the other side. Just saying good morning, it's already some kind of a charity. And maybe one day this person will be touched and will be nicer. So everything in life is temporary. Everything will pass. As Chico Xavier said, the problems will pass, but the good moments will pass as well. So life is a roller coaster. Don't think that, today everything is marvelous, fantastic, that will stay like this. No, it can boom, go down. And when we have family, friends, a spiritist center, a belief, a faith, this all helps us to give us strength to be prepared for difficult times in life. And love more, love more. It's so good that when someone did something that's not nice, but you can just say, it's okay, I don't need that, or the person was sick when said that or when did that. This helps us. And now I'm gonna put a movie for you to watch. It's only 3 minutes. You probably already heard the story of Sir Nicholas. He is extremely famous, but it's so touching that I really would like to, not to say anything, but to put you to see what he did. So let's see if the movie is gonna work here. 1 second. So this this man mesmerizes me. There are dozens of videos that you can watch and you can understand more about him. But basically, when he was only 28, he was on vacation. He heard of the problem and he thought, how can I help these kids? And there are many interviews saying that he created a fake non-profit organization and that he printed papers that were not really 100% legal and correct, but he showed the authorities that this paperwork and that these families in the UK were willing to receive these children. And he was sending hundreds of children. So the parents, the Jewish people that were living in Czech Republic in that time, that was Czechoslovakia in the time, they were like, they knew the situation was so bad and so dangerous that they would rather send their kids to the UK than keep them there. So this is already detachment. Imagine you have your kids there. You are signing papers for them to go to another country, not knowing when you're going to see them again or not, but thinking this probably will be better for them because the situation here doesn't look good. And from this young man in the time to do it, and basically by himself, he had a lot of connections and he was able to connect with all these families that received the kids, what is amazing. But then when the war exploded and everything, he didn't mention anything else. It went unknown for so many years. When I heard this story, I couldn't believe he put the book with all the information of the kids and the families because he had the record of every family who adopted who, where they live, and the information, but he put in a box in the basement. Only when his wife was doing a cleansing of the basement, she found the book. She was mesmerized and she confronted him to understand. And he's like, what is that? And I thought the things were bad, so I decided to help. Like, so there are videos that you can watch of he is invited to a talk show. He doesn't know anything about it. They gave him some kind of fake subject, and then he goes there to watch. And during the talk show, the woman, the TV woman, started talking about this person who was humble, who helped so many people and so many kids. And suddenly he started understanding this is a similar story as his. And then they said to him, Sir Nicholas Winton, can you look at the children that you saved? And then all the people in the audience, all of them, they stand up. And then there's only him and his wife. And then he looks and it's like all those people, they were there to say they were his kids. Can you imagine? This is like a extremely detached and extremely connected to love. So with this story, I leave you to reflect on your own detachments and the attachments to love that we all need to do. Thank you. So let me stop the recording. Very good, my friends. I hope you got the